Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have another great show for you tonight. Sitting next to me is that wild and crazy guy, Mr. Casper Leach. Out in the wings, we're proud to have a new guest on, and that is Buzz Holland. He'll be singing a little cannabis song for us. Later on, to end the show, Mark Shark will be back with another cannabis song. And we have a short newscast night, and we will be taking your phone calls shortly after the short newscast. And so stay tuned as we bring on, as we always do, our infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
Feel the force.
All right, our first story tonight is a national story. Federal marijuana prosecutions have dropped significantly after the passage of statewide laws legalizing and regulating the production and retail sale of cannabis to adults in several states, according to data provided by the United States Sentencing Commission. According to the new report, the number of cannabis trafficking offenders prosecuted federally fell dramatically after 2012, declining from more than 6,000 a year to fewer than 4,000 in 2015. The number of marijuana traffickers rose slightly over time until a sharp decline in fiscal year 2013, and the numbers continue to decrease, according to the report. The period of decline matches the passage and enactment of marijuana legalization measures in the states of Colorado, Washington, Oregon, Alaska, and quite ironically, Washington, D.C. Those convicted of marijuana trafficking crimes in federal court serve an average of 29 months in prison, according to this federal data. On another survey of over 216,000 adolescents from all over the 50 states show that the number of teens with marijuana-related problems is declining, despite the fact that more U.S. states are legalizing or decriminalizing marijuana use and the number of adults using the drug has increased. Rates of marijuana use by young people are falling. Data on drug use was collected by researchers at Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis over a 12-year span from young people ages 12 to 17. They found that the number of adolescents with marijuana-related problems declined by 24% from 2002 to 2013. When the kids were asked if they had used cannabis in the last 12 months, the rate reported fell 10% over the same period. Reduction in behavioral problems such as fighting, property crimes, and selling drugs accompanied the drops that were reported here. Our final story tonight, a Republican representative from California just became the first sitting member of Congress in recent history to admit that he has used marijuana while in office. According to Orange County, California, U.S. Representative Dana Rohrabacher, he says, quote, I went to one of these hemp fests or something like that. They had, a vendor gave him medical cannabis preparation to treat his arthritis. He's had a surfing accident that he tore cartilage and ligaments in his shoulder. As you can see, I got to meet him at the Seattle Hemp Fest there. But Rohrabacher went on and said, quote, I tried it about 2 weeks ago, and it's the first time in a year and a half that I had a decent night's sleep because the arthritis pain was gone, end quote. Rohrabacher is one of the chief sponsors of a measure that prevents the Department of Justice from spending money to interfere with state marijuana laws. The amendment is voted on by Congress annually and has been enacted into law for the past 3 fiscal years. And that's the end of our Hemp News segment tonight. Now we're going to jump over to Buzz Holland. Hey, Buzz. So he's got a little song, Smoke a Little Reefer. All right.
Hey, everybody, and thanks for having me. I'm Buzz Holland. This is a little song about everything that means so much to all of us. Smoke a little reefer, yes indeed. I tried them all, it's the one I need. Well, you can drink the liquor, you can take the pills. Cocaine is the devil and speed kills. Couple beers, glasses of wine, that ain't nothing but a real good time. But if you use a needle, or if you smoke crack, hell, you'll go down the rabbit hole and good luck getting back. Smoke a little reefer, yes indeed. I tried them all, it's the one I need. Well, you can drink the liquor, you can take the pills. Cocaine is the devil and speed kills. Why don't you smoke a little reefer? Yeah, smoke a little reefer tonight, alright. Smoke a little reefer. Smoke a little reefer, get high. Smoke a little reefer tonight.
Thank you, Buzz.
Fantastic.
That's Buzz Holland. Hey, Casper.
And that reminds me, that's what we do after the show every Friday night is smoke a little reefer, eh?
Or maybe more than a little. Well, that's a great song. When did you write that? Recently, or?
Yeah, I wrote it here in Portland a couple of years ago, and I play it with my band called Buzz Holland.
All right. Well, thank you
Y'all
for coming
got
on and doing
records or CDs that
Yeah.
people can jam out to?
You bet.
Groovy. We'll
The
have
First
to find
21, it's called. You can find it on the First 21.
All right. Well, thank you, sir. And so we are taking your phone calls tonight. If you got questions about ending marijuana prohibition, restoring industrial hemp, or medical marijuana, then you can call us at 503-288-4442. That number that's there on your screen, 503-288-4442. So how have you been this week, Casper?
I'm terrified, Paul. I'm scared. I've been watching YouTube, and it gets me got earthquakes up around Mount St. Helen and Rainier that might cause a volcano to go off.
Oh, they're going to go off sometime.
We got Project
don't know when.
Blue Beam that's going to bring the UFOs to America and take over the world.
I haven't heard about
Oh my God! And then we got Planet X that's coming by the Earth in another couple of months. It's going to cause waves to go and more earthquakes and the Earth to spin. And on top of all of that, I don't know if it's true, but this is the scariest thing. Apparently, come November, either Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton will be president of the United States.
Well, you know, I think that there are two other parties out there that are on the ballot in most states. One of them is the Libertarian Party with Gary Johnson, who's the former two-term Republican governor of the state of New Mexico. It looks like William Weld, former New England two-term governor, will be his vice presidential candidate. So we'll have two-term governors running for the Libertarians. And on the side of the Green Party, which is also on the ballot in most states, Jill Stein is running again. So Jill Stein is just to the left of Bernie Sanders. So
Do you think they have much of a chance up against Crooked Hillary and the Donald?
I don't know. We'll find out. But you know what? We do have a caller. So if you have a call for us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4442, and we'll welcome that caller to the show. Welcome, caller, to the show.
Hi, Paul. We got a letter today. It was dated May 4th. We only got it today.
Yeah, a lot of
It is
people have been
reporting
getting those
requirements.
letters about how we all have to report to the state.
Yeah.
Who?
Any medical marijuana patient or grower has to report to the state. Starting June 1st, you have to start recording how many plants you have. You don't have to report, though, if you're just growing for yourself. But you do have to report if you're just growing for yourself, but you're not growing at your own home. You also have to report if you sell any cannabis to dispensaries. And you have to report if more than 12 medical marijuana plants are being grown at your grow site. more than 12 flowering medical marijuana plants. So it's a new requirement. You have to tell them online. Sometimes you've got to report monthly. So up to this point, no reports are necessary. But starting June 1st to the end of the month, June 30th, you have to report in the month of July between the 1st and the 10th. And you have to tell them how much marijuana you sold to a dispensary, how many plants you have, and that's it. And so you have to say, I have this many immature plants and this many flowering mature plants. And if you don't make that report, then you could be fined by the state up to a maximum of $500 a day for any days you miss not reporting.
Okay, then just one more question. Then I presume that if we have excess amount of marijuana, if we're growing with a medical license, that we can sell our excess to a dispensary. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. But you have to report that. Anything you sell after June 1st, on or after June 1st, has to be reported to the state health department. And they have an online process to report that. So you don't have to fill out a paper report and send it in, though you can.
Okay, so that taxable income then, we have to go through the whole routine with the income tax thing?
I guess so, yeah.
Okay.
If you've got income, I'm sure the IRS wants their cut.
Okay. All right, well, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
I sent you a lantern. I wondered if you thought about trying that, an oil lamp. With your
Oh, yeah, I've got that lamp where it's just a little, it's a little awkward for us because it takes so much more oil than this little thing.
I see.
And this is a hemp wick where that has a nylon wick. And of course this little hemp twine won't fit in there quite as well. But I've got it. Thank you for that.
Okay.
And maybe we'll use it in maybe like at our show or something, like the
we
Hemp
can
Stock
put it together
Festival.
with a hemp wick. And
When we need more,
hemp oil and
you
stuff.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All
We
right.
got
Well,
to
keep up the good
fashion
work,
a hemp
guys.
wick that
Thanks
fits in, one of those flat wicks like they have in those oil lamps.
So
Thanks, though.
if someone's growing your marijuana for you, do you have to report?
If you are not the grower, you do not have to report. But if you have a grower card, you have to report.
All right. So, like in my case,
This is a new Oregon requirement. These laws just keep changing. Now, though, you can have an unlimited number of non-flowering plants. And the only ones that count are the flowering plants. So that's
cool.
one of the better things. One of the things that really bothered me, though, is that you have to pay a $200 grower fee. And the only way you don't have to pay the $200 grower fee, and that's in addition to your paperwork. So if you don't have a discount on being low income, or they have a new discount for veterans, then you have to pay $400 a year. Now, you go to some states like Hawaii and it's $35 a year, or in Montana, it's $35 for the first year and then $15 a year. So the fee is way out of line, in my opinion. It kind of makes me mad that they want this huge grower fee, and you have to give them a copy of the zoning law if your grow site is in an urban area, and other new requirements. So I'm not entirely happy with them.
So who sits down and invents these new regulations?
The legislature, at the behest of the police.
So what do they just get high and think these things up?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they're getting high. I think the police come in and say, hey, we're not making enough money here. Let's bilk these guys for a little more. And they're just misguided. They should be lessening the regulations, not increasing them. But I hope a lot of people like me get mad and we'll go to the legislature next session and let them know, or let them know during this election cycle while they're running for office. We do have another caller, though. Welcome to the show, caller. Oh, not that line. They're gone. If you have a question for us tonight, you can call us at that number on your screen. It's 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. Things are changing pretty rapidly. Now there's going to be a vote in California on legalizing adult use of marijuana. In fact, I think that's the name of it, the Adult Use of Marijuana Act, or OMA. and there are mixed feelings on that, but I think it's a step forward. It's better than Oregon's in some ways. The tax rate's lower. We have a 25% tax. The California tax is just going to be 15%. And so, but there are a lot of people who are afraid it's going to do what it's done in Washington, where it's just pretty much wiped out the medical marijuana system. And so all the dispensaries that were specializing in helping patients have to close down by July 1st in Washington state. And they've also lowered the number of plants that Washington state patients can grow. It had been 15 plants per patient. They've dropped it down now to where it's 4 plants per patient, unless you register with the state, which costs $1, and which is a really low fee. But then you can grow 6 plants per patient. So it's a new requirement.
Why do they even bother? I mean, it costs more for the stamp and the envelope and the little effort to get to the mailbox than the actual dollar.
I don't know. You know what, though? We're going to try this call thing again. I think we have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Guys,
Hey.
say, I just wanted to let you know that I am the first person in history to ever get hired into a cannabis dispensary through the disability program with the state and through SAFE with return to work program. I just got hired on last week. This is fun. I'm having a great time, and
Well,
I
great.
want to let everybody know this is a possibility now.
Yeah. So you've got that workers on the job training kind of thing where some of your salary is paid for your employer.
Yes, absolutely. It's a bright to have them bring me in.
Great.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, that is. Congratulations. And now you're employed in this new industry.
Yeah, and it's going to skyrocket from here, I think.
Well, that's something that the other patients should think about out there, that if you're on disability and you want to go back to work, you can use this option of having this workers on the job training where the state will pay a good portion of your salary or reimburse your employer after they paid you. So,
Right, yeah, it's a great deal, and it's worked for me, and I'm in it, and I'm happy.
congratulations. I'm happy to hear that for you.
Well, thanks.
Thanks for letting us know.
Sure.
Okay, I think we have another caller. Hey, caller, welcome to the show.
Yes.
Hey.
I want to know when they can sell the candy bars and cookies.
Next Wednesday, they can start selling these microdose cookies and candy bars to adults. I think they're limiting it to a 5 nanogram dose. That is very, very small. Even a little kid wouldn't feel it from one dose of those. But we don't want little kids to have it, of course. But just as generally, you need about 30 nanograms to be able to feel it. And so I recommend as a medicinal dose about 50 nanograms. So you'd have to have 10 of these 5 nanogram candies, or milligram, that's it, milligram, not nanogram. 5 milligram candies or cookies to reach that medicinal level. Does that explain that?
Yes.
Yep, but June 1st is the day that the dispensaries can start selling those to any adult over the age of 21. Of course, medical patients with a medical marijuana permit have been able to get those anyway. Also, medical patients don't have to pay the tax, and they aren't limited to 5 nanogram edible doses. Medical patients can have much larger doses, and many of them need much larger doses.
Okay. And thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Right now.
Yep. Again, if you have a question for us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4442. What do you think? You had a cold tie there tonight.
Well, I like to spruce up a little bit for the holiday. It's going to be a 3-day weekend, and my home state of Indiana is going to be doing this thing called Go Straight Left, Go Straight Left, Go Straight Left for 500 miles and celebrate the art of car racing. So it's just an all exciting weekend for me, to say the least. So
All right. So it's the Indianapolis 500, in other words.
yeah,
Do you ever go to that?
no,
I haven't either.
it's like I said, it's just go straight, turn left, go straight, turn left, go straight, turn
Go
left.
fast. Hopefully no
Well.
one will wreck. I went to the Kentucky Derby one time, but never to.
I am so old. I remember when it used to take all day to do the race, and I think the top speed was 40 or something. I don't know. And now they get it done in 90 minutes or less.
That's 90 minutes for 500. No, it takes more than 90
I
minutes.
don't
to
know,
go
but I mean,
500.
it's not as big of a thing anymore, just
Yeah.
because.
I mean, it
it's
might
just
be
like-
3 hours or something. You're going pretty fast. But 500 miles.
Yeah.
It's a big race. So, but so we have that. We've seen several states move toward allowing medical marijuana. We have a law waiting on the governor's desk in Ohio that will legalize medical marijuana in the state of Ohio. Now we'll see if Governor Kasich will sign it.
And we've
it's
got
on his
a
desk.
handful of industrial hemp laws too.
That's true. That's true. We've got a number of hemp farmers here in Oregon growing hemp. I met one at an event that Courtney Moran had organized a few weeks ago in Salem, who had just planted 29 acres of low THC hemp. So a number of farmers are going to be trying to develop markets for that. And we have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, caller.
Yes, hi.
Yes, we are.
He is.
Okay, here's my question for you.
Okay.
Let's say you have a small farm
Uh-huh.
and you have a barn and you wanted to fill it up with marijuana plants to grow for medicinal purposes. What would be the process?
So you get if you want to do it for medicinal purposes, you have to grow for a patient. So you need to, and you can only bud or have flowering at one time 6 plants.
I see.
And so for every 6 plants you have to pay a fee to the Oregon Health Authority.
Okay, and how much would that be?
That is a $200 grower fee.
Okay, are there any discounts for veterans or anything
There
like
is a
that?
discount for veterans, but not on the grower fee. They've lowered the $200 patient fee, where if you're a veteran, it's now $20. But the grower fee is $200, and there are no discounts right now.
Okay.
You know, I think once a number of us complain, I'll say it nicely, complain to the state, lobby our legislators, we can get that changed in a year or so. But for now,
Good idea.
we're stuck with this incredibly high grower fee that doesn't make any sense. But
I know it doesn't make any sense.
yeah, $200 per plant. So that's like $33 a plant just in grower. And the prices of cannabis are coming way down, you know.
Yes, I know
Over
they
in
are.
Washington State, you can now buy, even with a 35% tax, you can buy a half ounce of Trainwreck, which is a really good strain that I grow
Which
too,
I know.
for $45. So growers up in Washington State are just getting $1 a gram now, or about $450 a pound, or $28 an ounce. So you can see, okay, the grower gets $28 of that $90. The state gets 35%, so I guess that's like $30. And then the store that is selling it gets the rest.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So it's like third each way between the grower. The grower gets the smallest part. The state gets the biggest part if it's sold at that price. But the tax up there is 35%. Here in Oregon, it's 25%. And
So
California is going to vote on a 15% tax.
If you wanted to do a large operation, about how many patients would you need?
Well, you'd need 6 patients and you can only, in an urban area, you can only grow up to 48 plants at a single grow site. So that is just 7 patients or something like that. Then in a rural area, you can grow up to 96 plants. And so that's the maximum number.
This would be
that-
rural.
that can be grown at a single site under Oregon's medical marijuana law. They just put these new limits on as well, which means, I have actually been growing for in excess of 100 patients, even though I haven't grown anywhere near the number of plants I could have grown, because I grow big plants outdoors. But now I've got to get rid of most of my patients, and they're just out of luck. I don't, because the state has changed this law.
I've heard that.
Each of them have to pay $200 if they want to name anybody as a grower.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, $200, and that's the grower fee. Then there's still the patient fee, which ranges between $200 for most people to $20 for people on disability or who are military veterans.
Right.
So, but there is another part of the law which has just gone into effect, and it says if you have a license to grow for adults, they like to say the term recreational.
Yeah.
I don't like the term recreational because it ain't basketball. You're not going swimming, though that's recreational.
Yeah.
If you're talking about recreational drinking, isn't that binge drinking? I think that's
Sounds
binge
like
drinking, right? Recreational drinking, but they call it recreational marijuana for some stupid reason. It's a pejorative term. It's something that makes it look bad.
You prefer social use.
I like social use. Social use is that's what they talk about with alcohol too. Social use of alcohol. They don't talk about the recreational use of alcohol. Let's use the same term. Let's not get it concerned. Obviously, recreational use of anything to change your consciousness is a pejorative term and inaccurate. But that's the term we have. But anyway, if you have a recreational license, I'm going on a tangent here. If you have that license, now you can add patients to your recreational license and have a larger canopy space. So they have micro canopy licenses for just like $300 where you can grow up to 500 square feet. You check these laws. And then they have 20,000 square foot license. You can have a canopy of flowering plants up to 20,000 square feet, which is about an acre. I think that's 3,700 or 3,500. And then the largest license you can have is a 40,000 square feet of flowering cannabis canopy, which is just less than an acre. And if you add on medical patients to that, then you get additional canopy size. And so that's the way the law is working, where if you have this adult use, recreational, social use license, you can add medical patients on it. But it's still in process and it hasn't really been carried out. As of last week, there were only 26 of these recreational licenses issued out of about 980 applicants. So there's still 950 people waiting that have already applied.
I see. Well, you've answered a lot of my questions. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. That's what we're here for.
Have a good evening.
You too. Thanks for some interesting questions there. Hopefully we answered other people's questions as well. So we have a little video about Hemp for Victory 73 years later. Is that video ready to roll? Okay, we'll be back right after this video.
Gasoline, and the car itself was constructed from hemp. On his large estate, Ford was photographed among his hemp fields. The car, grown from the soil, had hemp plastic panels whose impact strength was 10 times stronger than steel. Henry Ford ran 40,000 vehicles on hemp fuel from only 10,000 acres. The emissions are what you exhale, and the next year's crop reconverts it back into oxygen. That's a natural cycle fuel. We think that our ethanol and biofuels and flex fuel systems are all the cutting edge, but biofuel development, of course, is nothing new. Way back in the 1930s, Henry Ford was hard at work in the alternative fuel sector, and in 1941 he constructed a hemp-fueled and hemp-bodied prototype car The plastic body panels were composed of 70% cellulose fibers, including industrial strength, mixed with a resin binder, and apparently they were pretty sturdy. A guy beats on the trunk with an axe and it fails to leave a mark. Industrial hemp won't make you high. It has no THC in it, but its association with marijuana has historically been a major legal stumbling block. There's some of you that think I'm full of shit, but the actual footage of 1941 should be proof enough for you.
Amongst the thousands of products made from hemp, one of the most extraordinary is Henry Ford's plastic car. Built in 1941, it contained cellulose fibers derived from hemp, sisal, and wheat straw. The plastic was lighter than steel, yet could withstand 10 times the impact without denting.
Would you believe that marijuana could replace most oil and energy needs? That marijuana could revolutionize the textile industry and stop foreign imports? Those are the claims. Some people think marijuana, or hemp, may be the epitome of Yankee ingenuity. Mr. Jack Harrer, for example, is the national director and founder of an organization called HEMP. It's an acronym for Help End Marijuana Prohibition, located in Van Nuys, California. Mr. Harrer is the author of a remarkable little book called The Emperor Wears No Clothes, wherein, not surprisingly, Mr. Harrer urges the repeal of marijuana prohibition. Mr. Harrer is not alone. Throughout the war on drugs, several organizations have consistently urged the legalization of marijuana. High Times Magazine, for example, the National Organization to Reform Marijuana Laws, or NORML for short, and an organization called BAC, the Business Alliance for Commerce in Hemp. But the reasons the pro-marijuana lobby want marijuana legal has little to do with getting high, and a great deal to do with fighting oil giants like Saddam Hussein, Exxon, and Iran. The pro-marijuana groups claim that hemp is such a versatile raw material that its products not only compete with petroleum, but with coal, natural gas, nuclear energy, pharmaceutical, timber, and textile companies. It is estimated that methane and methanol production alone from hemp grown as biomass could replace 90% of the world's energy needs. If they are right, this is not good news for oil interests and could account for the continuation of marijuana prohibition. The claim is that the threat hemp posed to natural resource companies back in the 30s accounts for its original ban. At one time, marijuana seemed to have a promising future as a cornerstone of industry. When Rudolf Diesel produced his famous engine in 1896, he assumed that the diesel engine would be powered by a variety of fuels, especially vegetable and seed oils. Rudolf Diesel, like most engineers then, believed vegetable fuels were superior to petroleum. Hemp is the most efficient vegetable. Hemp paper contains no dioxin or other toxic residue, and a single acre of hemp can produce the same amount of paper as 4 acres of trees. The trees take 20 years to harvest, and hemp takes a single season. In warm climates, hemp can be harvested 2, even 3 times a year. It also grows in bad soil and restores the nutrients. Hemp fiber stripping machines were bad news to the Hearst Paper Manufacturing Division and a host of other natural resource firms. Coincidentally, the DuPont Chemical Company had, in 1937, been granted a patent on a sulfuric acid process to make paper from wood pulp. At the time, DuPont predicted their sulfuric acid process would account for 80% of their business for the next 50 years. Hemp, once the mainstay of American agriculture, became a threat to a handful of corporate giants. To stifle the commercial threat that hemp posed to timber interests, William Randolph Hearst began referring to hemp in his newspapers by its Spanish name, marijuana. This did 2 things. It associated the plant with Mexicans and played on racist fears, and it misled the public into thinking that marijuana and hemp were different plants. Nobody was afraid of hemp. It had been cultivated and processed into usable goods and consumed as medicine and burned in oil lamps for hundreds of years. But after a campaign to discredit hemp in the Hearst newspapers, Americans became afraid of something called marijuana. By 1937, the Marijuana Tax Act was passed, which marked the beginning of the end of the hemp industry. In 1938, Popular Mechanics ran an article about marijuana called New Billion-Dollar Crop. It was the first time the words billion-dollar were used to describe a U.S. agricultural product. Popular Mechanics said, and I'm quoting, A machine has been invented which solves a problem more than 6,000 years old. The machine is designed to remove the fiber-bearing cortex from the rest of the stalk, making hemp fiber available for use without a prohibitive amount of human labor. Hemp is the standard fiber of the world. It has great tensile strength and durability. It is used to produce more than 5,000 textile products, ranging from rope to fine laces. And the woody herds remaining after the fiber has been removed contain more than 77% cellulose and can be used to produce more than 25,000 products ranging from dynamite to cellophane. End of quote. Well, since the Popular Mechanics article appeared over half a century ago, many more applications have come to light. But back in 1935, more than 58,000 tons of marijuana seed were used just to make paint and varnish, all non-toxic, by the way. When marijuana was banned, these safe paints and varnishes were replaced by paints made with toxic petrochemicals. In the 1930s, no one knew about poisoned rivers or deadly landfills or children dying from chemicals in house paint. People did know something about hemp back then because the plant and its products were so common. Today, many of these items are made in whole or in part with synthetic petrochemicals and wood. All oil lamps used to burn hemp seed oil until the whale oil edged it out at first place in the mid-19th century. And then, when all the whales were dead, lamp lights were fueled by petroleum and coal and recently radioactive energy. This may be hard to believe in the middle of a war on drugs, but the first law concerning marijuana in the colonies at Jamestown in 1619 ordered farmers to grow Indian hemp. Massachusetts passed a compulsory grow law in 1631. Connecticut followed in 1632. The Chesapeake colonies ordered their farmers by law to grow marijuana in the mid-18th century. Names like Hempstead or Hemp Hill dot the American landscape and reflect areas of intense marijuana cultivation. During World War II, domestic hemp production became crucial when the Japanese cut off Asian supplies to the U.S. American farmers, and even their sons who grew marijuana, were exempt from military duty during World War II. A 1942 U.S. Department of Agriculture film called Hemp for Victory extolled the agricultural might of marijuana and called for hundreds of thousands of acres to be planted. Despite a rather vigorous drug crackdown, 4-H clubs were asked by the government to grow marijuana for seed supply. Ironically, war plunged the government into a sober reality about marijuana, and that is that it's very valuable. In today's anti-drug climate, people don't want to hear about the commercial potential of marijuana. The reason is that the flowering top of a female hemp plant contains a drug. But from 1842 through the 1890s, a powerful concentrated extract of marijuana was the second most prescribed drug in the United States. In all that time, the medical literature didn't list any of the ill effects claimed by today's drug warriors.
Imagine a world we could live in. Plant these seeds in the minds of our children. Plant these trees and grow a solution. Hemp can heal the world. Imagine a world we could live in. Plant these seeds in the minds of our children. Plant these trees and grow a solution. Hemp can save the world.
All right. That is Hemp for Victory, 73 years later. A lot of that was Hugh Downs, and the old television announcer. He had his ABC program. He was the first host of 2020.
He and Barbara Walters.
Yeah, and so you were there when Jack Herer got the call for this. You were the manager of Jack Herer's office down in L.A. for a number of years in the early 90s. And that's how when you started your Time for Hemp
yeah, and Jack was so
gig.
excited to hear from Hugh Downs. I mean, at that time, Jack's book was pretty novel, and a lot of people were blind to the information. And so when mainstream media newscasters began to pick up on it, they were as surprised as we were that their parent companies were not excited about the idea of promoting this information. And until you take a closer look and realize that all the advertising dollars going into ABC, CBS, etc., are coming from places like Shell.
And here's the reason. Here's our hemp flame of freedom, just like Hugh Downs was talking about.
Yep. This
is hemp seed oil with a hemp wick. Here's next week's hemp wick here. And here's some it's hemp oil that isn't being used right now, but it's just an example that anything you can make out of petroleum, you can make out of hemp. And so what our late great friend Gatewood Galbraith said was that it was a war between the synthetic cycle, represented by the petrochemical side, and the natural cycle, represented by hemp farmers and farming. And he said the people who actually brought us marijuana prohibition were the petrochemical, pharmaceutical, military, industrial, transnational, corporate, elite, fascist sons of a bitches.
Ha!
And so I love that line. And after Gatewood passed away about 4.5 years ago, I decided I better learn it and pass it on, because it's just too good a line not to live on. Sometimes I change that last little bit to the crony capitalist ruling class, depending on. But you viewers, we put a little disclaimer at the top of the show. So.
And I think I've told you before that I used to dance under that name in Hollywood, Hemp Flame of Freedom.
Okay. Well, everyone knows you're quite flaming. But we are taking your phone calls tonight. If you have a question or comment for us tonight, you can call us. That number there on your screen. It's 503-288-4442. So your radio network and internet empire continues to thrive, doesn't it?
It does, and if you go to timeforhemp.com, you can listen to all the wonderful hosts that are working diligently to end the prohibition by raising the voice all around the world. On timeforhemp.com, we have, of course, radio outlet. We got a new newsletter that just hit the website this week, and we got new programming on our Roku TV outlet as well. So, and we got lots of smart devices that can download the apps that you find on our website, from iTunes and iHeart and Android and Google Plus and all the great places that people go to get information. And anywhere there is sound found on the internet, we are found making sound. So please go to timeforhemp.com, and like a good joint, we are always best when you share us with your friends.
Okay, we have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello, I'm calling for Casper. I'm wondering if you could tell me about vapes. I know that there are some vapes that can be gotten that are for people who have low income or no income like me, and I'm wondering if you could give me some information about that.
Well, I use a pipe, so I don't know that much about vapes, but perhaps Paul might.
Well, doesn't our friend Kelly Kristen, does he still have that program?
He does,
You
but
know
they're
about
talking
that.
about the little pen vapes, not a vaporizer.
Is that what you're talking about, or are you talking about the free vapors that the guy gives away up in Canada?
Oh, the free ones.
Tell our viewers
about there
Kelly
is a free
Kristen's
vaporizer
program.
that you can get. Go to timeforhemp.com, and on the home page there's a little MP3 you can listen to, and it tells you how to get a free herbal air vaporizer. They're about $300 on the retail market.
But he gives away one a month to
One a
low-income
month, so
patients.
yeah,
You send
you
a
can check
little
it out.
letter to Kelly Kristen up there. He's a really nice guy. I got to hang out with him. My wife and I got to hang out with him down in South America a couple years back, but at the Expo Weed in Santiago, Chile. But he's a really nice guy, and he keeps helping out Casper.
So yeah, you can go to my
That's
homepage and find out how to get a free vaporizer if you want one.
Very, very awesome. Thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
Also, I tried to see you guys on Ustream. I'm not seeing any live feeds on there right now. I just thought I'd let you know.
I'm doing, I'm on the show, so I can't handle it. I'm not sure why it isn't streaming live, but I can tell you that it will be on our YouTube channel tomorrow morning.
Sweet. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good day.
Hey, you're welcome. I guess someone dropped the ball on putting it up on Ustream. Maybe. I guess. But that happens at times. We're an all-volunteer effort here, so we just do this because we love it. And so we have a number of clinics all around the country where we help patients get their medical marijuana permit. So if you have any of those conditions there, from chronic pain and gastrointestinal ailments to neurodegenerative diseases, cancer or AIDS or any of these others, we can help you get a medical marijuana permit. We have clinics and can refer you to doctors all around the country. You can call us at that number there if you're interested in finding a doctor to help you or a loved one who has a serious medical condition get a medical marijuana permit. Just call us at 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. If you're here in Portland, you can call us at 503-281-5100. That's 503-281-5100. And we have a specific new website. It's Empower Clinics, empowerclinics.com. And you can get more information if you're interested in that. So that's one of the many things we do. We also are working to change these laws some more. If you're interested in getting involved in that, you can call us at 503-235-4606. It's 503-235-4606.
And I don't know, I may be mistaken, but aren't you trying to help educate the members of Congress and the Senate on the importance of medical marijuana, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't your company have like a little suppository with your company name on it you can send to a member of Congress?
No.
Oh, maybe you should.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Again, if you have a question for us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. We have another little video about hempcrete and hempcrete technology. And
it's becoming the foundation of construction.
Well, hempcrete is about 1/3 the weight of concrete and twice as strong. Wow. And so it's much more environmentally sound than concrete itself. So we urge you to find out more about that. It was a traditional building material going back thousands of years. And so is that video ready to roll? Let's roll the video. We'll be back in just a moment.
So what we have here is the hemp shiv, or also called the hurd, which is the internal part of the stem of the plant. And that's mixed with a lime-based binder. And so with that lime-based binder and the hemp, we've got a negative carbon footprint. Now the difference between lime and concrete is that lime you don't have to heat up as much. Concrete you have to heat up to almost 3,000 degrees, which takes a lot of energy and does very poorly on the carbon footprint.
Well, hempcrete actually sequesters carbon. Let me tell you how it does that. First of all, any cellulose material, wood for example, or hemp, takes carbon in during its life cycle, and usually when it decays, it lets it back into the atmosphere. If you take that plant and then put it into a wall, for example in hempcrete, then that carbon is now sequestered in the wall and not becoming part of climate change. So the hempcrete in this building, this one building alone, will sequester 20,000 pounds of carbon. That's a pretty big accomplishment. I think this is the best wall system in the world. So I'm all about hemp. I think hemp's an important thing to push because it's food, fiber, building material. But really, I'm choosing this material because it's the best in terms of building science. And why is that true? First of all, because this is what's often called a breathable wall system. And I don't mean breathable for air. We're actually building an airtight wall, but it's breathable for water. And why is that an advantage? Well, in a typical wall, you have a cavity that you seal tightly and then you fill with insulation. Well, water will get inside that cavity because water that's its job in the world. My body's 70% water. It can dissolve any material anyway. So what we want to do in a building is create a wall that welcomes water but doesn't rot when it lets the water in. And that's exactly what hempcrete does. When humidity changes in the air outside, the wall can take on that extra humidity and hold it until the humidity drops outside, and then it will let it back out. In the meantime, because the lime is wrapped around the cellulose won't rot.
The lime is trying to go back to being a rock. That means this wall is going to get harder and harder and harder. Over time, it's going to petrify. So these walls will last for thousands of years, not 40 years like what we're used to building.
Okay, so that's Hemp Technologies, talking about the advantages of hempcrete. Obviously, there are a lot. I want my next home built out of hempcrete. Maybe I'll even be able to buy one someday. We'll see. But it's pretty interesting, isn't it?
It is. It's amazing all the wonderful things you can use in a construction site that are made of hemp, not only from the cement, but to the walls and the roof, and once you're done with that, the drapes and the furniture on the inside of the house.
So this is a little piece of a hemp stalk here, and the outer part of the hemp stalk is the bast fiber, or it's the bark. And so this is the bast fiber. The interior woody part is the hurd, and that's spelled H-U-R-D. And so traditionally the hurd had been used for these kind of hempcrete buildings mixed with quicklime or powdered limestone. And the outer bark is used to make canvas, rope, lace, linen, and ultra-thin specialty papers. In fact, around the world and here in the United States, about half of all tobacco cigarettes are wrapped in hemp paper. So little do most tobacco smokers realize it, but they are smoking hemp fiber. The other half is flax. Also, the world's currencies, most of them are made out of 70% hemp and 30% cotton. Again, they're using this outer bark fiber, which is the longest and strongest plant fiber known, and 30% cotton. The United States, though, our currency is 70% flax and 30% cotton. But even fiber experts have trouble differentiating between hemp and flax fiber on microscopic analysis because they're so similar. Also, hemp seed oil and flax seed oil are very, very similar. So they're very similar, even though hemp grows a lot bigger than a flax plant. A flax plant will only grow about 2 to 3 feet tall, where hemp will be much taller. So there's a little hemp education for you on tonight's show. And we are just about out of time. Standing by in the wings is Mr. Mark Shark. He's got a song for you, but is there anything else you want to say in closing, Casper?
I do want to remind people to come to timeforhemp.com and check it out. Also make it a point to vote this upcoming year. Get registered if you haven't able to vote in the primary. It's important that you do vote this year. If you are not an organ donor, please make it a point to be one. You never know when somebody you love might need one. And don't forget, the next time you hear me, you'll know that it's time for, oh yeah, and spay and neuter your local politicians. Thank you.
That too. So once again, standing by here is Mr. Mark Shark. We want to thank him for coming on. He's a world-class musician. We're proud to have you here. I've even got pictures of Mark playing with Bob Dylan and George Harrison. Isn't that? Wow. Didn't you play with Bob Dylan and George Harrison on at least one occasion?
One lucky night, but with Bob, but Bob, yeah, I did some recording with Bob, and that was great fun.
You know, both of them were famous singers.
I've heard of them.
Yeah,
me too.
They're pretty good.
So anyway, Mark's got another cannabis song for us, and we'll be back next week. Tune in then and help restore hemp.
All right. So this one I learned off a record by some guys named Martin Bogan and Armstrong, and it's called If You's a Viper. A viper, Casper is a viper. There's no doubt about that. So goes out to all the vipers out there. I dreamed about a reefer 5 feet long, not too tall, not too strong. Sky is high, so am I. If you's a viper, well then you know your body's sent. You don't give it on, you can't pay the rent. The sky is high, so am I. If you's a viper, where the throat gets dry and you know you're high, everything looks dandy. Truck on down to the candy store now, people saying. Bust your chops on peppermint candies, then you know your body's sent.